Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Ganganasadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami.
Dear Seeker of Truth, welcome. This work that we are going to talk about is one of the most sacred dialogues because it happens between two enlightened beings. One is Ashtavakra, the other is King Janaka, which was Ashtavakara's disciple. So in it you will have a glimpse of the instruction of an enlightened being so that you can achieve liberation, and also the vision of how a liberated being stands, acts, what is his experience. So pay attention to these teachings, fill your heart with surrender, devotion, sacredness, because that is the way to enjoy it the most. May it blossom in your heart, may you also find liberation. Moving on, Ashtavakra Samhita, chapter 18th, verse 24, continuing on peace. So naturally of a vacant mind and doing what comes of itself, the wise one, unlike an ordinary man, is not affected by honor or dishonor. So naturally of a vacant mind, because he is not really there, and doing what comes of itself, so whatever the actions the body is undertaking, it's according to prarabdha karma, not personal desire. The wise one, the self-realized one, unlike an ordinary man, is not affected by honor or dishonor, by the fruits of those actions, because he has realized the self, he is fullness, bliss, and he knows nothing of that is real. It is just a play. One who acts in conformity with such thoughts as this is done by the body and not me, the pure self, such a one, even though acting, does not act. So the one who acts in conformity with such thoughts, this is done by the body and not me, the pure self. So that the one who acts in conformity with this is the one that this is true for him. That this is done by the body, not me, I am the pure self. The one who knows this, only he can act in conformity with that. Such a one, even though acting, does not act, because he is not the body. So the body is acting, not him. Even if others identify him with the body, saying that he is the body, the enlightened one is the body, and observe the actions of the body, they are not his actions, and he is not the body. He is the self. The Jiva Mukta acts like one who does not say that he is acting so, but he is not, therefore, a fool, even though in the world he is ever happy and blessed. So the one who has realized the self while living in the body acts like one who does not say that he is acting so. But he is not therefore a fool, even sometimes that They are very similar in extreme cases. In extreme cases, sometimes knower of truth may behave like what is called a fool, but he is not. He is not an ignorant one. He knows the ultimate reality. Even though in the world he is ever happy and blessed, the body is in the world. He has transcended the world. He is the self, and for him there is no such thing as a world. And that sometimes creates confusions in the mind of the seekers, because they expect the enlightened one to have the same vision of the world and care about this and that the way they do. And sometimes the awakened one behaves in such a manner, but for him it is just a play. He is not taking that serious. The wise one, who, weary of diverse reasonings, has attained repose, neither thinks, nor knows, nor hears, nor sees. The wise one, the one that knows, weary of diverse reasonings, has attained repose, has realized the self. And he is weary of diverse reasonings. It doesn't matter anymore. Neither thinks, nor knows, nor hears, nor sees, because he is no longer the body. And these are functionings pertaining to the body and to ignorance. As the wise one has no distraction and does not practice meditation, he is neither an aspirant for liberation, nor is he in bondage. Having known the universe to be a figment, even though he sees it, he exists as Brahman itself. Again, a verse which is confused by naive seekers. As the wise one has no distraction. He is a wise one because he knows the self, has realized the self, he knows the truth. This is why he is a wise one. Has no distraction because he has transcended duality. So there's no distraction for him. There's only he. And does not practice meditation. Why should he? Meditation is about halting illusion, purifying the mind, so that the knowledge of the self, so that the self can dawn upon him, so that self-realization is possible. He is neither an aspirant for liberation, because he's already liberated, and nor is he in bondage, because he is liberated. Having known the universe to be a figment, even though he sees it, he exists as Brahman himself. So, before being wise, he practiced meditation for these purposes mentioned previously. Now that he is a wise one, there's no need to practice meditation anymore, because he is fully established in the self. And for that, he is neither an aspirant for liberation, nor is he in bondage. So those who try to mimic this by saying, no, I'm beyond meditation, I don't do meditation because that implies duality. Yes, your own duality. And that's what will help you to transcend duality. Because the wise one has already transcended. He is not in bondage. And then, if you say that bondage is an illusion, check if there isn't any suffering. And having known the universe to be a figment, even though he sees it, he exists as Brahman itself, because he is Brahman. He who has egoism in his acts, He who has egoism in him acts even though he does not act. Surely the wise one who is free from egoism does not act even though he acts. Okay. So he who has egoism in him acts even though he does not act, because the actions pertain to the body. It is nature that acts through the body, through all bodies. They are not your actions. You are the self. But you're convinced that you're acting because of ignorance, but you do not act. And the wise one, who is free from egoism, does not act even though the body is acting. It is the same. The difference is one doesn't know it and the other does. One is attached to the actions and has desires through the actions. The other doesn't. And one is in misery, the other one is in fullness. It is in bliss. So these verses, they cause a lot of confusion, because the ignorant one, by its ignorance, says, oh, the wise one doesn't do this, so I will not do it also. Especially what comes to spiritual discipline, of course. The mind of the liberated one is neither troubled nor pleased. It is actionless, motionless, desireless, and free from doubts. The mind has dissolved, has no more personal desires, needs, has no belief in duality, has nothing to gain or to lose. So, the mind of the liberated one does not exert itself to be either meditative or active, but it becomes meditative and active without any motive. So there's no motives for it. And everything goes according to prarabdha karma. So, depending on the context, the mind of the liberated one may become meditative or active, according to what comes naturally and what is there to be done. But it doesn't exert itself for neither. It just flows naturally. Exerting is for the one who is under illusion. A dull-witted person. Let me just make a little... These verses, they are quite different depending on from where you're listening to them. So if you possess the qualifications, the beginning qualification, that means that you have meditated a lot. So these verses will impact you differently from someone who hasn't practiced anything. Just listen to this and, well, we will get there also. A dull-witted person becomes bewildered on hearing the real truth, but some sharp-witted man withdraws within himself like a dull person. So a dull-witted person becomes bewildered because he doesn't possess the qualifications to hear this. So without the qualifications, he becomes bewildered with all this knowledge, knowingly or unknowingly, because if he doesn't have the qualifications, he may assume that he understood what he heard, but he can only hear according to his own conditioning. But a sharp-witted man withdraws within himself like a dull person. The difference is the dull person is continuously agitated and full of desires. The other one is not that much. The ignorant constantly practice concentration and control of the mind, as he should. The wise, abiding in the real self, like persons in deep sleep, do not find anything to be done. So the ignorant constantly practice concentration and control of the mind. So again, this is verse that for those naive ones, they say, oh, so if it is the ignorant that practices concentration and control of the mind, the wise doesn't. So I want to be wise, so I stop it. As long as you haven't realized the self, you're an ignorant one. And the constant practice of concentration and control of the mind is a must. The wise, abiding in the real self, like persons in deep sleep, do not find anything to be done. He has done everything that is to be done. He has realized the self. He has transcended duality. So there's nothing to be done for him. And he is in fullness, in bliss. And as long as there's distraction, as long as there's duality, control of the mind, meditation, they are a must. For the wise one, there's no more distraction because he has transcended duality. Okay. So the ignorant person does not attain peace either by inaction or by action. The wise one becomes happy merely by knowing the truth. So these verses, they are very interesting because they must puzzle the minds of the ignorant ones, the ones that don't know the truth. So these verses make twist a lot. So the ignorant person does not attain peace either by action or by inaction. So inaction, suppression of mental and bodily activity, action impelled by desire. None of this brings liberation. Even if it is spiritual action, even if it is that, but the spiritual actions, meditation, control of the mind, make it possible for the realization of the self. The wise one becomes happy merely by knowing the truth. It's not merely. Knowing the truth is the ultimate. Of course, because knowing the truth is realizing one's own blissful nature. So that is happiness. Merely. Just by merely knowing the truth, it doesn't mean by listening to the truth. It means by realizing the truth, realizing the self. That's how he becomes a wise man. Before, it was the ignorant one that was practicing meditation, control of the mind. And when that is done by the right reasons, then it bears fruits. In this world, those who devote themselves to diverse practices do not know the self, which is pure, intelligent, beloved, perfect, beyond the universe, and free from any taint. So those in this world who devote themselves to diverse practices do not know the self. This is why they devote themselves to diverse practices, so that they are able to know the self, which is pure, intelligent, beloved, perfect, beyond the universe, and free from any taint. Those who know the self, they no longer devote themselves to the same practices. So this is the explanation of the obvious. So it is from their ignorance and from their desire for liberation that they devote themselves to diverse practices. The ignorant person does not attain liberation through repeated practice of control of the mind. The Blessed One, through mere knowledge, becomes free and is unaffected by change. So, the repeated practice of self-control, of control of the mind, of meditation, does not bring liberation. That's not its purpose. It halts the power illusion has over you. It purifies the mind. It makes it possible for that revelation, that ultimate revelation, which is and brings merit. Because the realization of the self is a blessing, is a revelation. It's not a result of effort, but effort brings merit. The Blessed One, the one who has been blessed because he had merit for that, through mere knowledge becomes free and is unaffected by change. By mere knowledge, by self-realization becomes free because that is freedom, and unaffected by change because he is beyond change. Okay.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.